Let me ask you a painful question. Why is it that you can read complex stock charts, memorize balance sheets, and maybe even have an IQ higher than 90% of the people around you, yet your investment account still looks like a disaster scene? If your answer is, "I'm just not smart enough," or "I don't know enough financial formulas," then you'd better go light a candle for Isaac Newton. Yes, that Isaac Newton. The guy who got hit by an apple and invented calculus. In terms of raw IQ, he was the ceiling of human potential. But you might not know that this genius lost a fortune during the South Sea bubble crash that is equivalent to millions in today's money. Afterwards, the man who could figure out the laws of the universe left behind a desperate quote: "I can calculate the motions of heavenly bodies, but not the madness of people." If Newton could get wiped out, do you really think getting rich is about IQ? The book I'm breaking down today, The Psychology of Money, is going to completely flip your worldview. It argues that in the world of money, behavior always beats intelligence. An emotionally stable janitor can outperform a panicked Harvard genius every single day. Don't believe me? Let's look at two real stories. First, meet Ronald Read. He was an American gas station attendant and a janitor. He fixed cars and swept floors his whole life. But when he died, he shocked the world. This humble janitor left behind an estate worth $8 million. Did he win the lottery? No. His secret was boring enough to put you to sleep. He just saved a few bucks every month, bought blue chip stocks, and then forgot about them. Decades later, compounding turned him into a multimillionaire. Now cut to the other guy. Richard Fuscone, Harvard MBA, Merrill Lynch executive, retired in his 40s to become a philanthropist. He lived in a mega mansion that had 11 bathrooms, and I'm not kidding. But in the 2008 financial crisis, Richard went broke. Because of greed, he was leveraged to the hilt. When the court foreclosed on his mansion, the famous swimming pool had turned green because he couldn't even afford the water bill. Think about it. In medicine, engineering, or architecture, a janitor could never outperform a Harvard expert. It defies the laws of the profession. But in the world of money, it happens all the time. That's because finance isn't a hard science like physics. It's a soft skill. Richard was ruined by arrogance and greed. Ronald won through patience and humility. It has nothing to do with how many books you've read, and everything to do with how you control the person in the mirror. So if it's not about IQ, it must be about hard work, right? Well, let's look at Bill Gates. No one denies he's brilliant and hardworking. But have you ever wondered why Gates? In 1968, Gates went to Lakeside School. It was the only high school in the world at that time that had a computer terminal. While university professors were still using typewriters, 13-year-old Gates was already coding. Statistically, the chance of a high school student having access to a computer in 1968 was 1 in a million. That is pure luck. But the story has a brutal second half. Gates had a best friend back then named Kent Evans. Kent was arguably smarter than Gates and was his best business partner. They promised each other they would change the world together, but you've never heard of him. Why? Because before high school graduation, Kent went mountaineering and died in an accident. The odds of an American high school student dying in a mountaineering accident. Also about 1 in a million, do you see it? Gates experienced 1 in a million luck and became the richest man on earth. Kent experienced 1 in a million risk and didn't make it to graduation. Luck and risk are just two sides of the same coin. They are forces you cannot control. Admitting this isn't about giving up. It's about humility. When you succeed, don't trick yourself into thinking you're the chosen one. You might have just gotten that 1 in a million break. And when you or someone else fails, don't be so quick to judge. Maybe the risk goddess just knocked on their door. Since we can't control luck, what is the one thing we can do? We can ensure we stay at the table. Many people say they believe in compound interest, but their brains don't actually grasp it. Let me ask you, how did the Ice Age happen? It wasn't a meteor or the sun dying out. It happened because the Earth's orbit shifted just a tiny bit, making summers just a tiny bit cooler. That little drop in temperature meant the winter snow didn't fully melt. That leftover snow reflected more sunlight, making the next year even colder, leading to more snow. Cycle that for a few thousand years, and the planet is buried under miles of ice. That is compounding. The starting point is irrelevant. If the time horizon is long enough, the results are terrifyingly huge. What does this have to do with Warren Buffett? Buffett's net worth is around $84.5 billion. But did you know that $81.5 billion of that, literally 96% of his money, was earned after his 65th birthday? If Buffett had been a normal person who started investing at 30 and retired at 60 to play golf, his net worth would be about $11.9 million. That's 99.9% less than what he has now. Buffett's secret isn't that he's a stock-picking god. It's that he's been investing since he was 10 years old, and he never stopped. He never got wiped out. He never quit. Getting rich and staying rich are two completely different skills. Getting rich requires optimism and risk. Staying rich requires paranoia. You have to be terrified that it can all be taken away. You have to survive the dip so compounding can work its magic. But survival is hard. Because there's a force that lures you to push your luck. That force is never enough. Rajat Gupta was the CEO of McKinsey. He was worth $100 million. For 99.9% of humans, that is few money. But it wasn't enough for him. Why? Because his social circle included billionaires like Warren Buffett. Standing next to them, Gupta felt poor. To close that gap, he used his position on the board of Goldman Sachs to commit insider trading. He wanted a quick billion. Instead, he got caught, went to prison, and lost everything. He risked what he needed and had for what he didn't need and didn't have. Modern society is an expert at moving the goalpost. Real winners are the ones who know when to walk away from the table. Finally, I want to leave you with the Ferrari Paradox. When you see a Ferrari driving down the street, you might think, wow, that's cool. But here's the thing, you don't care about the driver. You don't look at the guy and think, man, he's cool. You look at the car and imagine yourself driving it. The driver thinks he's buying respect. But to everyone else, he's just a prop in their own daydream. If money can't buy genuine respect, what is the point of saving it? Control. The most expensive luxury money can buy isn't a watch or a house. It's the ability to say no. When your boss demands you work overtime, when the economy crashes, when you just need a break, money in the bank is your voice. It allows you to say, I'm not doing that. True wealth is the options you don't see. It's the cars you didn't buy and the diamonds you didn't wear, sitting in your account, buying you control over your time. As the author Morgan Housel says, save like a pessimist, knowing the world is full of landmines. Invest like an optimist, knowing the world generally gets better. If you want to master your life and not just your bank account, go read The Psychology of Money. Because real wealth isn't about the number on the screen. Real wealth is waking up tomorrow morning and not having to ask anyone for permission to live your life.